Welcome to AER Int channel, and on this occasion, let's continue to learn together about surface modeling. Welcome back to the course. This was how we left our model in the previous video. We trimmed away some of the excess areas of the surfaces that we didn't need, and it sort of looks like our candlestick holder. But if we try to use this in real life, it will probably fall over because it doesn't really have a base. It's kinda top heavy. So to fix this, we can use the Ruled Surfaces tool. This can be found on the Surfaces tab. Here it is. And as we can see, we've got quite a few different options here. Probably the best thing to do is, first let's select an edge, and then we can run through what these different options do. So down here in the edge selection box, I'm gonna choose this bottom circular edge. And for the distance, let's set 20mm, just so we can see what's going on nice and clearly. So basically, the ruled surface makes a new surface that extends outwards from the selected edge in a specified direction. And if we look at the preview, we've added this yellow area at the bottom. So we are on the first option, tangent to surface. So we've basically added that 20mm tangent that's directly in line with the selected edge and the surface that joins it. The next option is the normal to surface option. And as we can see, now we flipped the surface 90 degrees. So it's now normal or perpendicular to the edge and surface we've selected. Because this is quite a simple vertical tube, and this is quite an obvious example. This base would be pretty easy to add just using an extruded surface. But imagine if we have a really wavy base here, this tool could be quite useful in following the edge around. And if I press OK, we could just add a base like this. I'm going to go back and edit the ruled surface feature again, just by clicking on it and pressing edit feature. And then we can have a look at the remaining three options. The next one is called tapered to vector, and if I select that, we can see nothing happens on the preview. That's because we first need to select a vector. So instead of just going normal or tangent, in this case we can select a specific vector, and then we can set the angle to that vector. So I'm gonna click in this box, the reference vector, and we don't really have any suitable straight lines or edges in this model, but we could choose an edge if we did. So in this case we're going to use a plane. So I'm going to extend the second feature 3, and I'm gonna select the top plane. So we are now creating a new surface which is 20mm in length, and 3 degrees to that reference edge, which is the top plane that we selected. And we can change the angle here to make it a bit more obvious. Let's say it as 45 degrees. And we see we're now getting 45 degrees to that top plane. And this one can be really useful for adding things like trough angles. So let's press OK to add that in. And then we're gonna use this new feature to demonstrate the final two options. So let's select the ruled surface feature again. And this time for the edge, let's choose this new outer edge. And if we run through these first two options, we can see tangent to surface extends along the surface tangent, so it's directly in line with the surface. Normal to surface is 90 degrees to the surface, like this. Taper to vector we just added. So for the fourth one, perpendicular to vector, let's select that. And again, we need to choose a vector. So this time I'm gonna choose the top plane again. And we can see the extension is now perpendicular to the direction of the arrow, so to the direction of the vector. And then the final option is sweep. So this will sweep the edge we've selected along a specific vector. We can also click the coordinate input here, and we can change exactly how the input works, and that will change the exact direction of our sweep. So in this case, if I just turned off that coordinate input, the sweep would just go directly upwards. Now because this is a fairly regular shape, we might not be able to visualize some of these directions and options quite as well as we could. So let's have a look at a different example using a bit more of an irregular shape. I'm gonna press Ctrl Tab and just change to this model. So if instead maybe we had a shape like this, almost kind of like a Pringle shape, and we select the ruled surface and choose the outer edge, I'm just gonna set the distance as say about 200, so we can see exactly what's going on. So for the tangent to surface, we are following the surface exactly. We are basically extending it and keeping a nice smooth outer surface and curve there. For normal to surface, we are extending upwards at 90 degrees. So if we turn it to the side, it sort of looks like a sailor's hat or something. Taper to vector. Again, I'm gonna set the top plane as the vector, and we can obviously adjust the angle here and change it to whatever we want. So this one is particularly useful. Perpendicular to vector. In this case, it gives a really strange squashed shape. If we change the vector to another plane like this, then we can see it gives a much nicer shape, maybe closer to what we want. So often it's really just a case of playing around with these different settings and finding one that suits exactly what we need for our model. And then finally with sweep, as we said, we can change the coordinate input. So we can change the direction of the sweep to whatever we need for our model. So it's really a case of exploring the settings and just finding what works for our specific model. So if we go back to our candlestick holder now, I'm going to delete this rolled surface that we added before, and I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to select the edge, and let's go normal to surface, which is this one. And for the distance, let's just set 25 millimeters and press OK. And we've now added a base there very easily. And also if you turn the model over, we can see we've still got that hole in the bottom. So to recap the rolled surfaces feature, it allows us to extend a surface in a specific direction. There's 5 different options. They can all be useful in different situations, especially if we have more complex non-standard geometry, and we can play around with the settings to find something that works for our specific model. In the next video, we'll finish off this model by having a look at how we can add fillets, and we'll also look at a different way that we can create a solid model from these surfaces. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like. I hope it can be a little helpful and useful.